Happening now, President Trump is traveling to North Carolina, where he will be briefed on recovery after Hurricane Helene and survey some of the damage. The president will then head to wildfire-ravaged Los Angeles. As he left the White House, he spoke to reporters about the trip. Let's listen.
North Carolina, it's been a horrible thing, the way that's been allowed to fester, and we're going to get it fixed up. Should have been done months ago from the hurricane that took place almost 4 months ago. North Carolina's been treated very badly, so we're stopping there, and we're going to then go to Los Angeles and take a look at a fire that could have been put out if they let the water flow, but they didn't let the water flow.
CBS News senior White House and political correspondent Ed O'Keefe is live now from the White House, where Air Force One lifted off moments ago from Washington. So, Ed, as you know, the Biden administration's response to North Carolina and the hurricane relief effort has been a sticking point for Trump throughout his campaign. So talk about what he is promising to North Carolina today and how fast, because he seems to be indicating that building up an entire town should have been done in just 4 months. What's he promising to the residents there?
Well, he's reacting to the concerns of his supporters and people in rural North Carolina, that part of the state that was affected by the hurricane, that perhaps FEMA aid didn't come as quickly as it could have. Now, you can go back and review exactly how quick the federal and state response got to that part of the state, which was slammed by this storm in unexpected ways. And it is going to take some time to rebuild the general western North Carolina, Asheville region. And so by him going today, he's going to reiterate continued federal support. Remember, he said that this week that he thinks going forward, perhaps states should cover their own expenses after disasters. I suspect governors and lawmakers from states that have been hit by this stuff, including the Speaker of the House, for example, who comes from Louisiana, that's had its fair of natural disasters, might think differently about that. We'll see how that goes. Then he goes off to California to see the wildfires, where you heard him there say, if only they let the water come from Northern California down to Southern California. No, that's not quite how it works. But he's been concerned about some environmental regulations that were put in place regarding distribution of water across that massive state and the entire West, and how it ran into state environmental concerns. It'll probably come up when he runs into California Governor Gavin Newsom later today, who says he will be on the tarmac to greet the president when he arrives. And we should also point out, he will meet also with the Democratic governor of North Carolina, who just won in November as President Trump won the Tar Heel state. And the White House tells us, and the senators confirm, that they invited Senators Alex Padilla and Adam Schiff, two big Democratic critics of the president, to fly with them on Air Force One to see things out in California. They cannot go because of big votes tonight on the Pete Hegseth confirmation in the Senate, but both signaled they appreciated the invite, Vlad.
All right, let's switch gears, Ed, and talk about that court battle brewing over the president's attempt to end birthright citizenship. He is responding to a federal judge's block that was issued yesterday on the executive order. And I don't know if you had a chance, I know you're really busy, Ed, but on CBS Mornings Plus, the Attorney General for the state of New Jersey helped break down to Tony and Adriana what the 14th Amendment to the Constitution means and how it's been interpreted over the course of our republic. But how is the president reacting to that judge blocking the decision?
Sure. This is a Reagan-appointed federal judge in Seattle who said that what the president's trying to do is unconstitutional. And the president reacted this way in the Oval Office yesterday afternoon. Take a listen.
Obviously, we'll appeal it. They put it before a certain judge in Seattle, I guess, right? And there's no surprises with that judge.
No surprises, he says, but again, it was a Reagan-appointed federal judge out in the Pacific Northwest. That one will start working its way through the courts. The New Jersey Attorney General and others across the country suing the Trump administration now, saying you can't do this. The president knew exactly what he was doing once he signed the executive order, because he and other conservative activists and administration officials have been suggesting for years that one way to potentially slow illegal immigration into the United States is to take away what is seen by many, they believe, to be the big carrot, that if you can get here and you can have children here, they'd be U.S. citizens and you'd be able to find a way to stay. Remember, though, birthright citizenship enshrined in the Constitution goes back to the founding of the country. It's not a chicken and egg thing. It's been there for a while. It's just conservatives believe, at least some of them, that if you remove that, maybe the flow will end. One other thing to point out this morning, Vlad, from here at the White House, the press secretary tweeted out a photo a little while ago of a military aircraft being loaded up with people who were being deported from the United States. The CBS News confirmed team confirms, as they're supposed to, that this was a photo taken of Fort Bliss, Texas. Our Ellie Watson over at the Pentagon has confirmed that 2 C-17 military flights flew overnight or early this morning into Guatemala, and just a little while ago, Guatemalan authorities confirmed that one flight with 79 people on board came back. What we don't know yet, what we're working to figure out, is was this one of those regularly scheduled deportation flights that the U.S. has been conducting for years, during the first Trump administration and during the Biden administration, where they go back 2, 3, 4 times a week to places like Guatemala, El Salvador, and other countries across Latin America, and where advance notice is given. What we don't know is were these immigrants rounded up and prepared for deportation during the final days of the Biden administration, and today just happened to be the day they were going, or was this something that happened since Monday? We'll work to figure that out. Normally, these flights are usually conducted on sort of commercial airline-style jets that are usually contracted out by the government and fly from places like Texas, the San Diego area, and Louisiana back to Central and South America. The difference here, as you can see in the photo, is they're using a C-17 this time. It's a different kind of aircraft, but doing the exact same kind of work that's been done for several years, sending people back. And we should point out, illegal border crossings are pretty low right now. There's been no surge since the election. And so what exactly these troops that are being sent to the border are preparing for is unclear, given that the numbers crossing are not that high. Vlad?
It's an excellent point that you make, Ed, and one wonders, had the Biden administration during its time with these regular deportations that happen, as you point out, on a consistent basis, had they, every time they happened, tweeted out a photo or blared it from the press briefing room, that perhaps that might have changed people's perceptions of immigration under the Biden-Harris administration. Because from what I can tell, and you guys will fact check me on this, but the reporting seems to be that the number of people being deported every day, which is typically a couple of hundred, has not really gone up all that much, except that we're just hearing more about it from the president and his press people.
And that's what this whole week has been about, Vlad. Demonstrating action, that things are changing, that things are happening to make it look, or to actually change the way things were done over the last 4 years. And again, so far in this situation, it doesn't look to be any different than the flights that have been ongoing in the past. The difference is the kind of aircraft used, and as you said, the fact that the White House press secretary is amplifying what's an otherwise routine piece of work by the U.S. government by tweeting it out.
All right, Ed O'Keefe, always love to have you, my friend. Thank you very much.